After you create your multiple pages and go through and kind of change things to custom, like for example, about.html should say about, resume should say resume, the next thing you want to do is kind of go up here where it says file and then just click save all, and that way changes that you make across all these pages will be saved, so you don't have to go through and save each one individually. So obviously the next part of our step is going to be to customize each page. So for example, we would want to customize our portfolio page to reflect our portfolio content. So maybe somewhere down in here we'll say something like, I don't know, design implementation or design studio. We'll talk something about design studio down here. Maybe this one talks about design implementation. And maybe still yet, maybe towards the top over here, you might want to talk about your thesis project or your master's study, what you specialized in, what you liked about it. Maybe that's something that you really enjoyed about the master's program was your master's project, and maybe you can kind of delve into that and pull out things that you were kind of your interests are laying in. So maybe there was something about your master's project that you really like. Maybe you really like stormwater management, and maybe that is something that you just want to pull out here in the text. I don't know. This is pretty much up to you what you want to stick in here. It's pretty flexible. So let's just say that, for example, in Design Studio, we may want to add, I don't know, an image portfolio. So we are now in our portfolio tab. So of course in our portfolio we need to have some images, and maybe we have some in here in our master's study. Well, there's several ways that we can do this. One way that we can do it is we can provide links like we did up here with test 1, 2, and 3 to the images, maybe link somewhere on another site such as deviantart.com or something. So before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and hit save all. Because like I said, that's one way that we can do this. We can link it to somewhere else, or we can put in here, we can insert a portfolio type widget. Now one thing that we have to be careful about is this portfolio type widget takes up about 7 megs of web space. So we actually need to find out how much space we actually have available to us now. So I'm just going to select my entire website here. I'm going to right click and go to property and see how much space this is taking up. About 565 kilobytes. So I might have room to insert this widget. We know that it's going to take up about 7 megabytes. It may take up a little bit more after I add my widgets to, my images to this widget. So I'm going to go up here to insert, and I'm going to insert a widget. And right now I don't have any, so I'm going to go to my widget browser. I'm going to click accept to this, and the one that I'm going to look for is called like a light box, and this one here is called Clearbox Lightbox. This one's free. You don't really have to pay for it. There's a whole bunch of other widgets here. You can kind of think of this like an iPod app store. There's a YouTube player. I wonder if that one is free. So let's go to our Clearbox. Just going to select it. It's going to ask you for your Adobe ID. You may have other additional pop-ups that come as well. Click sign in. Takes a little bit of time on my slow internet connection here at home. It's going to download to your computer. And then this box should eventually appear. Down here at the bottom at the lower right, I'm going to add to my widgets. Before I click add to my widgets, I'm going to hit cancel really quick. Notice over here it says image formats. These are the different formats that this particular widget will support. It'll also support all of these video formats, audio formats, Flash, and a whole bunch of other things going on down here. It'll do iframe content, YouTube URLs, some inner content. But one of the other things that you also might want to pay attention to is compatible browsers. It says Firefox all versions, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer all, and all of Safari versions. So this is something that we want. We want this to be able to be viewable in all browsers. So now I'll click Add to my widgets. Click Accept here. It says that it's totally free. Go to my widgets, and there it is. I'm just going to select on it. And now this window opens and I see a little hand symbol here. So this is what my widget will look like when it comes onto my web page. I can actually select on each of these. It'll make them bigger. We'll see that here in just a second. So I'm going to just kind of move this window off to the side a little bit. And I want my widget to occur down here. So I'm just going to click this little hand symbol, press and hold down the left mouse button and drag onto the website, and then release the mouse button. And there's my widget. So now I can actually close out of this one. And right now I don't have any images linked to it. It says that they're all broken because we actually need to save this. So I'm going to go up to File and I'm going to click Save. And we're going to have some dependent files that need to get copied over. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I'm just going to go out to my Dreamweaver directory now just so that I can see where all this stuff went. So if we go to Portfolio, I can see that it all went inside of my portfolio. So this is another reason why we want to make sure that things are in their individual folders. I mean, you can imagine if this was out here next to Index and we had to do something with our Spry assets, we have no clue if any of this is linked with our Spry assets. But we know that it's not now because it's in our portfolio folder, so we know that all of this stuff here, this image or this example in JS, this is all related to stuff that is occurring on this portfolio.html page. So if we go inside examples, we can see slides and we see thumbnails. I can actually change this to detail view. And these images here are related to the actual button controls of this widget, so we don't want to remove those. But if we go inside slides, these are the actual thumbnails to these example images here. So we can actually delete these out and put our own in, our own slides. And these slides are actually relatively small. So if I right click on one and go to preview, this is usually about 72 by 72 pixels, not real high resolution. We go to this one, preview, same thing. That's that first image that appears here. This is basically these are the actual slides and not the thumbnail. So if we go to the thumbs, and if I look up the same one called dancers, right click and go to preview, this is the one that's really small. This is the one that's 72 by 72 pixels. So this one is the really small size, and then slides is the full size, a little bit higher resolution, takes a little bit longer to load. So let's see how much space all of this is taking up now. So I'm going to go back up some directories. I'm going to highlight all of this, go to properties, and we have already reached our quota. We're at 8.1 megabytes. So actually this is going to be really too large to upload to our web server, because our web server said that they would only allow us to have 8 megabytes. So one thing that we could do to try to maybe make this a little bit more smaller is I'm going to go into the examples, go into slides. I'm just going to delete all of the slides, because these aren't actual images that I'm going to... Well, actually, before I do that, let me just do an undo. Let's just see how this widget works. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save again. It's already saved. I'm going to go to live view. So if they were to hit this page and this was our portfolio, this is what they would see. So let's say they click on that first one. JavaScript would actually open this. Then we have a little arrow here that we can view the next image. There's little titles and things going on down here at the bottom. And then we can also exit. And we can see that we can add content from another website, something from Facebook, QuickTime, music, and YouTube if we wanted to. Alright, so I'm going to get out of live view, and what I mentioned before is we're kind of out of space, so I'm going to actually just delete these images. Go in here and hit delete. I'm going to see what will save us some space here. Thumbnails don't actually take up a lot of space. Alright, so let's see how much that takes up. If we maybe gain some space here. We got about 7.65 megabytes, so maybe our web server will actually take this. So the size on disk is about 8.07. And And there's really nothing else that we can delete that's involved with this widget. So now you see that changes to broken because we actually removed those images. So let's just say that we actually do want to add an image into there, something from our portfolio. So I'm just going to go find an image on my hard drive here somewhere, maybe something in here. I'm going to change this back to details. Let's go find that image that we were looking at earlier, maybe this one here. I'm just going to hit copy. And let's just say that I want to stick that image on my website as a portfolio piece. So we would go to Adobe, Dreamweaver, Portfolio, and it would go inside of my example here. You go inside Slides, and I'm going to hit Paste. And we actually need a much more smaller image for the thumbnail. So let me open this in Photoshop real quick and make it something a little bit more smaller. This is, we already know, is going to take a long time to load. But for the purposes of demonstration, we're just kind of playing with this a little bit. So I'm going to go up here to image size. And I'm going to change this to 72 pixels. It is pretty small, but that's what I want. Do a file to save as. And maybe for this one, I will save it as a web. So I'll do save for web. I'll leave it as a GIF. Click save. And it needs to go into my D drive. Projects, website, Adobe, Dreamweaver, portfolio, and we're going to go inside of our example, and this is going to be a thumbnail. I'm going to just click save and exit out of that. Click no, minimize window, and come back into here. So I'm going to click on this first one. And this first one right now, of course, is pointing to a broken link. So I'm clicking on this first one here. So down here where it says source, the first one is thumbs, and link is to the actual slide. So where it says source, I need a thumbnail. I'm going to click this folder, and I'm going to point it to the thumbnail. So there's my thumbnail. I'm going to click OK. The next one where it says link needs to go to the actual slides folder. So I'm going to click browse, and I'm going to click to the full size one. That's my full size one, which is the JPEG, and click OK. My alt text maybe needs to match up with the image, so I'm going to say out for a drink. Now I'm going to click save, and I'm going to go and take a look in my live view, see what that looks like. So if I click on that, that's what it actually looks like. So I'm going to get out of live view. Well, let's go back to live view real quick, and I just noticed something there, so I click on live view. As I noticed down here, it says dancers and dancers in red. That did not change. So we actually need to change that. So let's go back to design view, click on this thing again, and we don't really see anything in here that's going to allow us to change that. Now this is where that split view is going to come in handy for us, because we know it's somewhere in the code. And we can see what we have highlighted here, what we have selected is also highlighted in the code. So everything that's highlighted in the code has already been changed, but if we look right above it, we see that out for a drink JPEG, but title still says dancers. Comment says dancers in red. So maybe we want to change this part and say out for a drink. And then where it says comment, maybe we want to say something different here. Maybe we want to say created in view. Alright, so let's go back to live view just to see what that looks like. I'm going to get out of this split view and go back to design view. Click on that, see if that actually got changed, and it did. Out for a drink, created in view. So that is a portfolio type widget.